buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es Alejandro Morales-Loaiza y este es el segundo episodio del reporte Boreal. Espero que estén todos allí muy atentos en casa porque el programa de hoy tiene muchos temas para analizar y sobre todo para descifrar la realidad mundial desde Norteamérica y desde una perspectiva un poco más hispana. Hoy precisamente hemos de comenzar nuestro análisis con la noticia del día. ¿Cómo, cómo evitar esto? ¿Cómo ignorar que hoy se anunció el presupuesto para el 2022? Como bien saben, eh, Canadá cierra su reporte fiscal cada, eh, cada año en abril y hoy precisamente se hizo ese anuncio. También les informo que acaba de ingresar al estudio el invitado de hoy, el señor Paul Hinman, quien es líder del partido Wildrose Independence Alberta y con quien estaré hablando de muchos temas de interés general, sobre todo para los que vivimos acá en Canadá. Así que yo voy a hacer el cambio al inglés para entrevistar a este grandísimo invitado de lujo, al líder, el señor Paul Hinman. So I'm going to switch now to English, and I would respectfully ask our master controller to let our guest to come in uh, to make the proper introductions. Mr. Hinman, such an honor to have you here on the show. Thank you very much for your time. I know that you're super busy, so to me is very. I appreciate a lot that you take the time to be here.
Well, thanks, Alejandro. It's great to be here, and we're in a world of trouble, and there's a lot of us that are trying to save the world from it just seems like self-destruction. And so it's a pleasure to be here, and hopefully we can discuss a few important subjects and see some pathway forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hinman. To me, again, it is a pleasure. We have a pretty busy agenda today to discuss, and you being from Alberta and being the leader of this very important party there, like I consider that you are pretty much the expert. Not only because of for your career, but because you live these day after day, right? So I would like to start by asking about the carbon tax. We saw that since I believe it's since 2019, there's an increase on the carbon tax based on the Paris Agreement that we celebrated with several other countries. And I wanted to get your opinion on how this is affecting our economy, but specifically the economy of Alberta.
Well, it's hurting us, and what's the more important part of it is hurting individuals, and especially those in the lower income bracket. Again, the inflation that this is causing, our fuel, we used to just cringe when it was going to get up to $1 a liter. It's been up to $1.56, $1.60, $1.63. And our own premier now has said, well, we're going to quit collecting the provincial tax. So we're down to, $1.53 here in Lethbridge. But it's just wrong. This is a classic example of what I call bloated, oversight, intrusive government who does not ever see the end of taxation and the harm that it causes. And, you need to have that mentality that a smaller portion of a bigger pie is far better than taking a bigger portion of a smaller pie, because you keep shrinking the pie. And that's what our governments are doing. But the impact and the pain that it's causing the individuals, it's just wrong. It's unacceptable, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree with you. And this is a kind of tax that like people uh, can pass through it without seeing it directly, but they suffered in many different ways, all right? Because the food prices go up, the like all the transportation. This tax affects different
It,
industries.
yes, well, what most people realize, and again, like these people, their energy ignorance astounds me. but they don't understand even such a critical situation right now is with fertilizer and what's happening in Eastern Europe. And fertilizer's gone through the roof, and that's an input on our basic food production. But energy is such a basic input on every level of our livelihood almost. It's so profound, because once you start that domino effect, it ripples all through the economy, right through, like I say, from production right through to heating your home. But where people hit it the most is literally every week going in to fill up their car with fuel and seeing that, wow, it's $20, it's $30 a week more now, $40 a week more, with these new increased taxes, plus the shortage that's been created because of the attack on creating a more robust industry. We've been penalized so much. Pipelines have been just an unforeseen thing here in Alberta, trying to get out. And again, we go back. I like going back to 2008, when we had 5 companies that wanted to build upgraders and produce oil and gas and gasoline and diesel and all of those things. And the government chose to say, oh, we're only going to allow one. Are you kidding me? How do you call that a free market? And again, I say this all the time to Albertans. Why would I consider our oil the most ethical oil in the world. Our environmental standards are second to none. Our labor standards are incredible. And we just have a very good, robust industry here, but yet we keep attacking it. And you have these world leaders saying that, oh, if we just get rid of the oil sands, somehow we're going to save the world. It's a joke. I don't know if you
Yes.
know, we have a famous individual here. To me, the name is Rex Murphy. I don't know if you've ever heard or listened to him, but
Yeah.
I meant to get the quote before I came on here tonight. But he gave a great article last week in our National Post here, and for me to summarize it, it would be that we have these stooges at the federal level who think that they're leading the climate change agenda in the world, when what we really are is the laughing stock of the world, because everybody else realizes that we need to produce it and need it, but we're sitting here saying that, oh, we're going to get rid of ours. And Alberta, in the northern area here, we need more energy here. It's cold, it's a
Absolutely.
long
And
winter. And
and now more than ever that these crisis in Ukraine has exploded, and it seems like politicians now have these perfect excuse of to justify their shortages. Like, it is not that we destroyed the industry, it is like everything, it's because of the war, everything is because of these COVID pandemic that has happened. But like, they have become masters of disguising every decision and justifying every decision into external
yeah,
external sources. So and one of the things that I saw about Jason Kenney is that, okay, he suspended the gas tax. Okay, that's a provincial tax on gas and on fuel,
yeah,
but at the same time he increases the industrial provincial tax on
correct.
carbon. So, like, essentially what people see every day when they go to get fuel, like, okay, yeah, I get a relief from the provincial government, but in the long run they are still suffering from provincial impositions.
Yeah, it's a simple case of where they say, you know what, we're not going to tax you at the store anymore, but by the way, we're putting a 10% tax on all the wholesalers. And so when it comes to the store, it's already 10% higher because they've taxed it. And then you think, oh, I'm not paying the tax. But yeah, the pure deception is just appalling. But the continued denial of what they have done to the oil and gas industry in the last 10 and 15 years is astounding to me. That they continue, like you say, to put other excuses and say, oh, it's not us, it's this, it's that. No, it's your policies. We had another company up here, Tech Frontier, that was opening up another mining operation last year. And after 10 years of application and meeting all of the ever-changing rules and regulations, says, okay, we'll do that. Yep, okay, we'll compromise. Yep, we'll do that. Yeah, okay, we'll add this. 10 years of this going back and forth. They finally threw their hands up, last year and says, you know what, we're done. We're done. And it's just case after case of that. We had the Trans Mountain that all the government had to do was say, look, this has gone through the proper vetting process. They're meeting the environmental standards. Protesters who stand in the way are going to be arrested and hauled away. You can go protest on the side of the road, but you can't stop the trucks and the workers from coming in. And they didn't do it. And so then what does the government do? Oh, we'll buy it. And they're spending billions and billions of dollars. This should have been done with private money. Now we have nothing and we spent billions of dollars, and still I don't know when it's going to get completed or if it will.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're yet to see that, and this brings back to memory the Keystone XL pipeline.
Oh,
That it was the most recent hit that Alberta received. Okay, and it was an important one, and it was from one of our most important allies. I assume it was the Biden's administration and the U.S. that definitely canceled that project.
again, just astounding. But what's even more astounding, though, is since this war has broke out and oil prices have gone up there, and they're trying to make a deal with Saudi, with Venezuela, with other, you know, countries that are not desirable to be sending our money there. And again, even that they were buying from Russia. And again, last year he gave the go ahead for Russia's second pipeline, but not Keystone XL. These people are bent on hurting our economy, in my opinion, and want to see the fall of, I want to say, Western democracies. They really are undermining our future, just with the energy, not to mention the debt and the spending, and with COVID, all of these actions. If someone's looking from outside, you just shake your head and say, like, these are not people that are acting in the best interest of their citizens.
Agreed. And the most logical decision on uh, uh, a reliable source, a reliable supplier, the most logical option would be Alberta, would be Canada for the United
Yeah,
States. So, like it again, I'm with you that I'm absolutely surprised that they have decided to go and ask for Venezuela's oil. Like
yeah.
uh, it was
Supporting
just
rogue regimes that
yes,
are destroying people's lives, and yet they're sending money. And it's the same with Russia right now. They're financing their war by selling the oil and gas to the people that they're fighting with, almost. And say, and now he's demanding, because they took him out of SWIFT, and now they have to pay in rubles, which again is dollars. His rubles have gone back up. And it's just like I say, you look at this, and you have to say, like, this is our own government sabotaging our future.
yes, and the position of Alberta now in comparison to Canada, Alberta has been like a nurturer of the rest of the country. Like Alberta, the level of oil production that Alberta has allowed other provinces to thrive. And how Albertans feel about that, because a lot of people ignore how like the reality in Canada between and how this relationship between provinces operates.
In a lot of ways, it's like a spoiled rich kid who uses their credit card, their parents' credit card, and just go out and enjoy life. And then, but they're mad at what the parents are doing for a job, and say, well, we're embarrassed. You shouldn't be in the cattle industry, and why are you doing that? And we're against this. We're vegetarians. And I'm just using this as an example. But yet they want the parents' credit card. Alberta has put over $600 billion into the federal government, that has been redistributed to other Canadians over the last 30 plus years. And yet these individuals and these provinces and their leaders deny it. They act like, oh, no, we're not getting anything. This is coming from the federal government. Okay, but follow it back. Where does it come from? Wow, it came from Alberta citizens. It came from Alberta businesses. It came from Alberta industry. And yet there's this complete denial of where it comes from, and the amount. But both of them are just openly denied to their fellow citizens in the different provinces here in Canada.
Yes, and the whole situation is sad because it creates more division, and
Yeah.
like when I came here to Canada, like the first idea that you had that I had was that okay, this is a united country. This is there's unity from coast to coast, but in reality, like provinces are very different from one another, and there seems to be quite an unfair distribution of all provinces' resources. Well, certain provinces are getting this surplus from Alberta, and they are like from these provinces such as Quebec and even Ontario, they are imposing these limitations. They are blocking Alberta's
Yeah.
main industry,
Yeah,
which is
like we had an Energy East project that was supposed to go through, 2 years ago or whatever, and Quebec says no, you're not coming through here, and it's unconstitutional. We our constitutional rights are is to be able to export and sell our resources, and yet our brothers and sisters on both sides are saying nope, nope, you can't do that, and the hypocrisy of where, like I say, the energy that they use. I even want to go back though, Alejandro, to a few years ago when we had three companies on the West Coast who wanted to build LNG plants. And, they basically got squashed. We got one going forward, but they just continue, even the clean gas that has an opportunity. I want to go back when you really want to talk about like what government fails to do is to realize the importance of being the smallest burden possible with regulations and taxation on its citizens, on its businesses, in order to compete on a world basis and to have a robust economy. But as they continue to add those taxes, add regulations, that again, it, other jurisdictions that we're competing with don't have to do that, and yet they're saying, "Oh, what we do to be in this game." We play a lot of ice hockey up here. I don't know how many people in Brazil follow that. I know that soccer is better, but I use the analogy all the time that we go in there and we only get a 6-inch blade on our hockey stick. Well, everybody else gets 12 inches because what we're going to look after and cut back on the amount of wood we use. It's just truly, you look at these things and you think, are you kidding? But in the 70s and 80s, when I was much younger, we were really pushing and having a lot of propane and a lot of liquid natural gas into our vehicles. And the government stepped in and says, oh, we're not going to allow this. We're going to tax that and actually stop that clean energy. We could have easily by now been converted, and a large portion of our industry could have been on liquid natural gas and would have been years ago if it wasn't for government intrusion and taxing the industry to where it wasn't competitive with gasoline. And they
yeah,
just do these things. The hypocrisy on how they function, like I say, it's just, you can't wrap your head around it. You
yeah.
look at it and you think, like, who does these type of things? It's not people with good intent, and it certainly isn't people with intelligence.
So and this goes into one of the main reasons why I wanted team to invite you here is now you are the leader of a party that promotes the independence of Alberta, and I have seen how reasonable these sounds on how since how badly Alberta has been treated by his brothers, his fellow Canadians. So why, how would these operate, and what's the justification for all of these?
Okay, well, the first and foremost is just outright survival. We have a federal government that has gone on a spending fee spree, I should say, that's they've doubled the debt in the last 5 or 6 years. Our entire historic debt has been doubled, and
It's a
you as a
trillion now.
business, yeah, you as a business or as an individual, you can't double your debt and not have a change in your revenue and your income. But yet they've done that. And our prime minister has said that, he wants to be the first one to sign on and be a post sovereign nation with the World Economic Forum. Many of his cabinet ministers are part of the young leaders from the World Economic Forum and graduates in there. And they have a very different agenda than I want to say the average citizen. And the average citizen, when you tell them or they read what they're proposing, they say, oh, that can't be true. That isn't what they really mean. When in fact it is. They want us to owe nothing, and they're going to tell us that you're happy.
Yeah, and if I remember, if we remember, most of the independence wars that we learn in history are related to people being tired of being told what to do by foreign powers, by powers overseas, people that never have lived in this country, deciding what we should do and how we should live our lives. And
Yes.
now we seem to be coming back to, that colonialism that is now called globalism, where a bunch of analytic bureaucrats are deciding for us, and they are saying exactly that. They are even open about it. And
Yes.
like, even if you dare to mention, like, they are mentioning these, and they have a clear agenda, they are sharing it everywhere, but you say that out loud publicly, and then you are a conspiracy theorist.
It's quite amazing, but their agendas out there, and to me, the way that Justin Trudeau facilitates that is by going bankrupt, and then you go to the IMF and say, oh, gosh, we got to rejig things, and it's scary to think where we're at, but how few people realize that. I don't know if you have this. We kind of have this. I don't know what you want to call it, but the frog in the pot, and you
Yeah.
heat it up to where the frog thinks everything is fine. Oh, this is so nice. Wow, this is nice and warm. And then it gets to the point to where you realize that I'm lethargic and I can't move and I've been boiled to death. And that's literally what they're doing is that they continue to hand out money saying that, this is free, go ahead and use it and spend it. But the fact of the matter is that there's going to be a day of reckoning. And when that
Yeah.
happens, um, Alberta can't be part of Canada, because when the ship goes down, we're part of it. And that's one of my big motives, is to explain to Albertans that the federal debt and their ability to pay for it, it's not going to happen. Our children's children will not be able to pay that off. But you mentioned, distant governments and being a colony, how they run our lives. But the other thing is, it's not just how they run our lives and tell us what we can and can't do, but taxation. They're stripping that money, that wealth away from the individuals, and that's where Alberta has been hurting. Our healthcare system, again, we've mismanaged things here in our own province, but the amount of money that we send out, we could have a very good healthcare system. We could increase and help our education system and our frontline workers. And again, with our senior care facilities, that this money should be going to Albertans that are benefiting from it instead of hurting. Our wait times here in Alberta are atrocious. Our education system is not, what would I say, up to par in helping our children and having a diversified enough of an education, that we don't even have enough of the, um, like if you're an academic, you do quite well, and our system works for those. But people that are struggling on that, they need to be able to go into the trades. There's no reason why someone in grade 7 or 8 who is not excelled in education can't start learning to do different things, whether it's a welder, whether it's a cook, whatever it is. There's so many things where we can and will put people to work, but yet they don't get educated on those things. And those are things that cost more money to bring, the trades into our schools. But we should and could do that if we just focused on those things.
Yes, and you cannot build a successful economy with just lawyers and doctors and, and engineers, right? You need a whole a group of different people doing different activities and
Abs-
excelling at what they know to do best, right? So yeah.
Absolutely.
uh,
Right from farming to building houses to all of those things. There's a lot of, whether you want to call it manual labor, blue collar work, that really is what keeps our economy and everything going, from building the automobiles. I mean, lots of stuff is automated, but yet we still need people there. And again, a lot of people say, well, we're going to move into the age of automation. Well, we're pushing people out of those jobs because of the regulations and things, and it's just wrong.
yes, yes, and the other thing that is happening at the macro level is that we are part of these multilateral agreements like the Paris Accord, and we're sending money elsewhere,
Yeah,
our money, and now it will be borrowed money, and we're sending it elsewhere while we keep augmenting our debt. So as you said, we are now at a
yeah,
trillion Canadian dollars debt, and there is while we are at the same time destroying our economy, we are blocking our main sources of revenue, such as the oil industry, the Albertan oil industry, and there is only one end to that, which is disaster. Like,
yeah,
it's the perfect recipe for disaster, is the perfect storm, and like in Latin America, we have seen that several times, unfortunately. Like, like you
yes,
just need to see Venezuela for an instance, and how
yeah,
they continue lying to its own people while they were enjoying this surplus of the oil industry, but at the same time they were destroying it slowly. So when people
yeah.
realized, it was already too late. Like, people were in poverty.
And that's always the problem is that people don't realize it till they've gone past the tipping point, and then you can't run back up. You know, it's tipped, and you're going down the slide, and it's greased, and it's too late.
Yes, yes, and even like for some of us that are familiar with the Venezuelan regime, like it's incredible how they even use the same tactics to create deception and to lie publicly.
Yeah,
Like we had our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau saying that the budget will balance itself. Like, so,
yeah,
and people, believe that, and people assume, like, okay, let's not worry about the about economy. Like, this is
yeah,
something that has nothing to do with me. It will balance itself. I will let the politicians take care of it, and they know best. All right,
yeah.
and let's move into another thing. So that's the major problem that I find with these regimes, and especially totalitarian and leftist regimes, that they
Yes,
end up destroying people's integrity, and they destroy people's critical spirit. So
yeah,
people stop questioning about what's going on, and people, they blindly accept what they receive from the public funded media, because as in Venezuela, we have the CBC here, that it's been like it's been funded with federal money, like
yes.
taxpayers' money. Okay, to continue spreading the information that the federal government provides them.
And I don't know how bad it's getting there, but I can tell you censorship in Canada and the US is incredible. We no longer have free speech. When you speak out against the agenda and their program, I mean, you're pulled off of Facebook, you're pulled off of Twitter, the papers won't write about you, the television programs won't bring you on. Like, this is a freeze and push out any opposition to their propaganda and their agenda. And it's very alarming.
Yes, and now we see that how the federal government is promoting these online censorship bills,
Yes.
while they claim to be defending, protecting people from hate speech. So what
Yeah.
will be hate speech? Whatever they say, it is hate speech. So now
And
you will have.
it's not even hate speech anymore. They're saying it's misinformation. You know, probably the most alarming thing that's affected people here and with COVID is there's treatments for COVID. There's been protocols around the world that have established that. But I can tell you, here in Alberta, you talk about those things, doctors have lost their license to practice here. It's unbelievable. And we've got safe drugs that can be repurposed, and it's just like I say, you might as well go and steal from a bank, because you're treated as a criminal to even think, let alone if you talk about that or put information out, you're going to be censored, you're going to be brought before the College of Physicians. It's astounding, it really is.
Yes, yes, and I had that experience because uh, uh, it is astounding how you cannot even tell your own story. Like, something
Yes.
that happened to you, you go on Twitter, you say like, hey, like I got this virus and I got this treatment and it went well. You cannot say that because
Yep.
you'll be marked by these online censors as someone who's spreading misinformation, and someone
Yes.
who's risking other people's lives, and that therefore is justified to get you out. So
Correct.
we're moving into this dangerous path, uh, that it leads invariably to authoritarianism. Like, same
Yeah.
thing, it's the same example from Venezuela, but since Venezuela is this obscure country in the south, like nobody takes the time to read about it. But in 2020, as in early as in 2014, Venezuela had a similar law, and
Yeah.
then a few months later, you would see the first people, the first ones, political activists being detained and even being tortured in the government jails, for just expressing their opinion on Twitter.
Yeah. No, it's so concerning, and the Western democracies are being viciously attacked. And I don't know. That's why I say we've got to exercise our full autonomy, and then vote on independence, because Eastern Canada does not like who we are. They don't like what we do, and they want us to be a have-not province. And if they see that we're self-sufficient in producing what we need and having surplus money, that's a threat to their power and their ability to shut things down. But we had a cartoon here I read today, and the alligator's coming up out of the swamp, and says, well, you'll help me out if I promise to eat you last. And that's kind of the situation that well, I will give you some money, Alejandro, so you say nice things about me, and until I get rid of everybody else, you're okay, but you're last on my list, so you're okay.
And some people, they contribute, and even some provinces, they contribute to this plan because they assume that it's never going to be their turn to be eaten.
Yes.
And we have seen these so many times already, where people blindly contributes to these plans, because they have faith that, okay, this is not going to happen to me. Okay,
Yeah.
but it does.
It inevitably does. You look back, like you say, historically, it always, it's a tidal wave, and it starts here, and you can say, well, that's not me, that's not my business. It's okay. And again, like with the COVID shutdowns, like who's to say that a young mother who's a hairdresser and needing to earn money, how do you say that isn't essential? But yet we go to Walmart and Costco and these big box stores, and they're okay to be open, and then thousands of people mingle, whereas there might be 10 people that go to a hairdresser's, or 20 people to a gym. And like I say, even if you look at these things in an actual medical and a scientific way, you realize this has never been about safety. This has been about control. This is about
Yes.
telling people what they can and can't do, and basically pushing the limits of government, and that authoritarianism, that totalitarianism that just progresses, and it's going to get worse. And we've got to stand up and say no. And like I say, it's been shocking to me the way this has gone around the world, and how well it's been accepted by the majority of people. Like I say, frogs in the pot boiling. Well, no, it's okay. I'm comfortable. I'm doing fine.
And this is gonna be temporary. Like, that's
Yes,
that's the
yes.
perfect, that's the perfect justification. Like, don't you
Starts
worry.
starts with just
Yeah,
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Like, it's not going to last that long, I promise. So
Yep.
just be patient. Okay, and then, this whole situation went out of control, after, well, at the very beginning, but even after 2 years, they have noticed that the whole situation with the virus is not as dangerous as they uh, were trying to force people to think that it was.
Yes.
and then they are still fear mongering everybody, and saying like, hey, like it's coming, the next wave
Well,
is coming, you need to protect ourselves, like we need to
yeah.
get back to our homes, we need to get back to safety.
Yep. No, it was on our radio today. I was driving into town and coming back and listening to the news, and they're saying, that it's imminent. This next wave is coming. Try not get out there. Make sure you're wearing your mask if you're in public again. There isn't a mandate here right now, but they're pushing all of that. And the crazy thing is we're going into our spring now. It's the end of your summer, but this is not our flu season. But yet they're now claiming that this new flu season's coming in when no. Flu season here comes October, November is when we get it. But here we are in May, and they're scaring everybody with the fear mongering that, oh no, the sixth wave's coming back. And now, the best and most important thing you can do is go get another jab. That's what's going to keep you safe, and put on your masks. And it just, the other thing that's alarming for me with all of this COVID is what they're actually doing is much like taking an individual and saying you can't exercise anymore, you can't get out in the sun, don't do this, just isolate. And we're losing our immune system because of the way we're behaving. It's becoming weaker, and our natural immunity is being compromised.
Yeah, and it grabs your attention that there is only one solution for these deadly virus. Okay, just one solution. Okay, nobody's talking about, hey, you need to have healthy habits, you need to no, just
Yeah.
one, like go get a jab, okay, and wear the mask, and just be obedient, just remain silent. This is not going to last forever, but the truth is that we are like 2 years into this whole situation, and it doesn't seem to end. So
No, and
yeah,
and again, what's alarming here is that we've spent tens of billions of dollars here in Alberta, and our system is the same. They're going to in their new budget, they're spending $3 billion more to get 50 ICU beds. 50. Like you look at this and like, are you kidding me? We should have had 50. We should have had 500 more ICU beds 3 weeks, 4 weeks into the pandemic, and had the capacity there. But what they say is that, oh, everybody has to stay home. Nobody can do anything because we've only got 400 beds. And so we're limited. And if the beds are full, people got to be locked down instead of let's treat the people. And again, we don't try any treatments. It's just, if you're sick, go home until you can't breathe anymore, and then come here, and hopefully we'll have an ICU bed and we can put you on a ventilator. But don't, like you say, don't take anything, don't do anything. Come
while
back when you're
firing up
dying.
health workers. So
Yes,
like
yes.
these guys and lady were the heroes of the whole like the whole theater at the
for,
beginning,
for
and
18
then
months they were there at the front line treating all these people, and then they say, well, if you don't get the injection, we're firing you and creating an increased shortage, when they wouldn't even have the decency and the courtesy to say, well, let's check you for natural immunity then. If you don't want to get injected, let's actually do some natural immunity and give people some encouragement. I went in and I got tested with the Mayo Clinic antigen test, and I tested that I had strong antibodies for it. I've never been sick, but my body's been exposed to it, and it's created the antibodies. And
and this is that's one of the most surprising facts that we have seen, because like fundamental truths that
yes,
even toddlers know, these that natural immunity is the best protection against sickness, against illnesses, is
yep,
now they're telling like, no, this man-made product, this man-made treatment is going to be better than your natural immunity,
yeah.
because
It's
yeah.
it's like going back to the 70s when they said that breast milk wasn't good and you should put all your kids on baby formula. Like
Yeah.
seriously, humanity, we've survived these thousands and thousands of years, and all of a sudden you've got this little formula that you put in a can and you mix it with water, and that's better than the mother's breast milk.
M-
Are
yeah.
you kidding me?
Indeed, indeed. So, Mr. Hinman, since we have a few minutes left in our show, I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk to your voters, to the Albertans that, like you, they see the future and they see that the whole country is coming to a disaster. So, like, what's the message that you would have for them?
Well, thanks for this opportunity, and it's great to reach out and to expand our borders and to talk to people from different areas, because we often, get into our own little neighborhood and don't realize that other people are suffering and have the same problems that we do, and together there's strength. But bottom line, we have a federal and provincial government that are stealing our money. The taxation levels that are going on, and the carbon tax being the most recent one, is wrong. And we need to, and as humanity, human nature is that we need to see a pathway forward, and to have that hope and that knowledge that, yeah, I can do that. But when they keep shutting these doors and making it difficult, and the mothers that I've met, that their children have committed suicide because of the shutdowns and everything else, it's so disheartening. And so the number one message is that we don't need to participate and look at these legacy parties for a future. These legacy parties are hurting us. They do not have our best interest at heart. They want to spend our money and have us economically stuck to paying off the interest year after year. They want to shut down our industries. The Paris Agreement with the carbon net zero is wrong. That's not in anybody's best interest. Climate change is real, but their solutions are really crazy. It's not going to solve anything. Again, I go back to the 70s and 80s when we were actually making a transition to propane and LNG, and they stopped that. There's lots of things that we can and we need to do, but the most important thing that we can do here in Alberta is to say, you know what? We need to look out for ourselves. This is like a plane crash going down. What does the stewardess tell you to do? You put on your seatbelt and you put on your air mask, and you
Brace for
put
impact.
yourself in a position for crashing. And that's what Alberta needs to do. That every election is an opportunity to well, it's not always an opportunity, because you don't always have a government that's there that is going to actually look after your best interest. And the reason why I got into politics is because I was tired of having to vote for the best of the worst. Like, okay, this person's only going to hit me 5 times, this person 10, and this one 20. Oh, I'm voting for the person who's just going to hit me 5 times. No, we want to actually vote for someone who's going to protect us from being hit. And that's what the Wildrose Independence Party is about. It's about protecting Albertans and protecting the money that's in their pocket. These governments that want to strip that away and say your life is going to be better, we just need to tax you more, we need to shut down your businesses, do not work. For me, the purpose of government, the number one purpose and why we have government, is to protect our inalienable rights of life, of freedom, of property, and our pursuit of happiness. And all of those have been stripped away in the last few years. And if we don't stand up and say no, we are going to be past that tipping point if we're not already. It's scary. But I often say to the people when I'm traveling around and talking to them, decisions are extremely important. But what's even more important is who gets to make those decisions. And right now, with our Constitution, which is a divisive Constitution, which allows tyranny of the majority, they want to shut us down. They want to hurt Alberta and for us to be a have not province. And we cannot go forward allowing Ottawa to make our decisions. And so next year, when we go into this election, the ballot question needs to be, who's going to protect and look after our future here in Alberta? Is it going to be Paul Hinman and the Wildrose Independence Party? Or are we going to go with the legacy parties and allow Trudeau and Ottawa to make the decisions and shut us down and tell us that we don't have a right to exist? That if somehow we get smothered first, the rest of the world is going to get saved. We're the ones that are causing all of the problems. And this is what bullies and tyrants always do. They pick a small minority and they say, these are the people that are the problem. This is the industry that's the problem. If we just get rid of these people and this industry and their activities, we're going to save the world. And it's a blatant lie. And so
Yes.
what our job is to go around to Albertans and let them know that, look, there's a new party in town here. This party is for you. It's to protect your money. It's to protect your job. It's to protect your family. It's to protect your children, which is the role of government. The reason why we need to have peace officers is for those who break the law or hurt someone else need to be protected. And all of those areas are failing. But the Wildrose is all about good government protecting the individual, allowing for that free market to compete, those entrepreneurs to come in here, to have capital come in and invest in new and innovative ideas. And the sky really is the limit when government gets out of the way and makes sure that there's a level playing field and that people have the opportunity to try new and innovative things. But even in our healthcare, it's centralized. And that's the other thing too, I guess, with myself and the Wildrose Independence Party, we understand the tyranny of central government. This idea that our supreme health person knows what everybody else should do when she's never been in a doctor's office or seen a patient, but yet she gets to make the decisions and tell the doctors that they're wrong and they can't prescribe or try these things. Centralized government is a formula for failure. And we, with the Wildrose, will be decentralizing. Taxes will be collected locally. Decisions will be made locally. And only those decisions that are at a province-wide decision will be carried on there. Whereas you see the federal and the provincial government always wanting to itch their way in, whether it's even infrastructure for water or sewage or waste management. All of these things you see provincial and federal government wanting to impose and step in and take credit when they're doing damage for those things. But I'm excited to offer Albertans a solution for the future. It's about freedom. It's about protecting the individual. And this idea that the tyranny of the majority and majority is the smartest is wrong. And that's what we're here to do, is to protect the future of Albertans, but most important is to protect that money that's in their pocket and to stop the taxation and the regulations that government just continually wants to invade and pull away from
Yeah.
them.
Mr. Paul Hinman, thank you very much. And with those comments from the leader of the Wildrose Independence Party of Alberta, we finish our interview. It's been an honor and a pleasure to interview you today. And we will stay in touch. There is still a lot of topics to talk about, and I hope that I can have you on the show on another occasion. So thank you very much. Thank you again,
Thank,
Mr. Hinman.
thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to it because these solutions need to get out there. When someone's invented and innovation is there, we need to share those. And whether it's innovation with better government or innovation with better industry or environmental things, it's about sharing and talking and communicating. So thanks for having me. You take care, and look forward to the next time.
My very pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you. Y ahora volvemos a los estudios. Este ha sido el líder del partido Wildrose Independence Party of Alberta, el señor Paul Hinman, quien nos ha traído toda una serie de propuestas interesantes sobre el futuro de esta provincia canadiense. Le deseamos lo mejor al señor Paul Hinman. Deseamos que no solo la vida de los ciudadanos de Alberta, sino la vida de todos los canadienses mejore. ¿Y de qué otra manera? ¿Qué otra manera podemos hacerlo sino con libertad, con prosperidad, con trabajo, con empleo y con todas estas propuestas que el señor Hinman ha traído para nosotros y para especialmente a la gente de Alberta? Con estas palabras me despido. Mi nombre de nuevo es Alejandro Morales-Loaiza. Ha sido un placer acompañarlos la noche de hoy y la cita es para el tercer reporte Boreal que quizá venga la semana que viene o dentro de 15 días. Los estaremos informando y aquellos que piden el link siempre, hagan el trabajo en casa. Suscríbanse a Digital Dominion, activen la campanita para que puedan estar al tanto de todas las transmisiones que les traemos para ustedes. Muy buenas noches de nuevo. Hasta luego.